Blue face, baby. Yeah, I'm every woman's fantasy. Blue face, baby. Mama always told me I was gonna break hearts. I can surf off stupid. Don't be mad at me, I wanna see you bust down, Bend that shit over on the deck. Yeah, make that shit clap. She threw it back, so I had to double back on the gang. Smacking high off the drug. I tried to tell myself 2 times enough. And the nigga relapsed on the dead low. Ain't no running, Tatiana. You gon' take these damn drugs, Tatiana. I think the pussy every now it's a murder scene. Keep shit player, Tatiana, like you ain't never even heard of me. But bust down.
Welcome to the hardest reptile podcast in the industry right now. And if you're Tatiana, remember to keep it player. Keep it very player.
Yeah, I guess.
Can you guys hear it? But why do you guys always look confused when I bring you in? Look, you guys look like it's your first time in. You're like, hi. Can you hear? Okay. We're good. We're ready. We're live.
Yeah, we're ready. We're here. Steven just is me mugging the camera.
Yeah, dude. Fuck.
So we do.
Okay, your guys' volume sounds a little low. I ain't gonna lie to you. Your volume sounds a little low. See if you could just turn it up.
We have fans in here.
Okay, that's good.
I don't want to be under that thing.
That's good. That's good. You're good. What is good? What is good? What is good? What is good? How are you guys? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2021, New Year, new me, right?
2020, never heard of it. Bye. See you later. Dude, moving forward, man. Welcome to a new year. Welcome to a new episode. And yes, man, how are you guys doing tonight? It's a wonderful night. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen you guys, but how are you guys, man?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Busy?
Just had what was probably our biggest shipping week in company history, which kicked all of our collective asses. So good and bad at the same time because
I can't feel my hands.
It's cold out.
Yeah. But, they say it gets cold and lonely when you're the best. You know what I mean? And when I mean the best, I mean the freshest and the best. Delivered to your doorstep. That's www.coldbloodedcafe.com. $30 flat rate shipping. They are not playing around right now. They've been working hard extra overtime to get your guys' boxes out. I have my shipment on its way. I can't wait. My snakes can't wait. You guys shouldn't wait either. Make sure you guys head over to Cold Blooded Cafe's website and put some more workload on Steven's plate. That'd be great. You got eggs, man. Put them in a freaking sim container. I'm telling you right now. RepTech uses it. Exotics Cartel uses it. Go check out their Instagram. Go see what John is hatching out of his inbox. And then obviously, man, I'm just telling you, the proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the box. Proof is in this inbox, man. And then, focused cubed habitats. Damn it.
Throw the 3 in there. So 7 more direction.
Anyways, how are you guys' focused cube habitats doing? I bet you guys love them.
Oh yeah,
they're amazing.
They're wonderful, and the snakes look great in them. So we could not be happier with them.
That's all that's all I want to hear, man. Like I said, the durability and they're easy to move around.
Yeah, very hard.
That's what it comes down to. All right, man. Tonight, I'm telling you right now.
This doesn't get any more gangster. Right?
Powerful.
Original gangster here, people. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
One of the founders of this entire community here with us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Just introduce him, Des. Go ahead. No.
Everybody, this is Bob Ashley of the Chiricahua Desert Museum, of Eco Publishing, of NARBC, of probably a shitload more shit. So what's up, Bob?
There he is, Bob Ashley in the flesh, in the building. How are you, Bob?
Thanks for inviting me. It's been a weird year. We just called all of our shows late yesterday. Brian and I did for NARBC, so we've delayed Arlington now until the end of April, and then of course St. Louis isn't going to be till November, and now Tinley's going to be in June. Hopefully, or all we can do is hope, because none of us really knows what the heck's going to happen with the vaccine and everything. But we want to be safe and make sure that we don't make the problem worse than it already is.
Now, Bob, I want to ask you, last year was a complete shock, right? Everyone was literally on pins and needles about shows being open, shows not being closed. Yeah. I mean, this year, do you feel like it's kind of like, because we still don't know, but now that you have an idea what you're going into, are you kind of more prepared for this year than last year?
Yeah, we basically Tinley. We were in Tinley. I flew to Chicago. Rachel, our curator, drove our van all the way from New Mexico to Chicago, and then the day before our vendor set up, we pulled the plug. So that was it. So that was kind of a shock, because we'd already been advertising and doing billboards and radio and all that for 6 weeks. So we lost a ton of money. Way it goes. But now that's one of the reasons we had to cancel shows now too, is like we don't want to spend a bunch of money also and then have them pull the plug, and it's going to be worse before it gets better, and it's really bad right now, so it'd be irresponsible to do shows right now. So if we get to the April show and it's horrible and the warm weather isn't here, and we'll have to make some other decisions. But until then, that's what we're hoping for, and maybe we'll have Tinley in June, but that'll have more to do with the governor than it probably will us.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I don't know. I don't want to say Texas is a lot more lenient, but is it like, I was really shocked to hear Texas isn't going to happen.
Well, we could do the show. We could. The state of Texas is wide open. We could do the show. But the problem is if I don't have half our vendors and our sponsors there, and it costs us the same amount to do the show under good conditions or bad conditions. So not only could we make the virus worse and get more people infected if we do the show, but we'd probably lose about 20 or 30 grand. So we had two good reasons not to do it. Sponsors, a lot of the corporate guys can't come, things like that. So it's just not a good move at all for us and for the industry.
Well, the last thing you want to do
for sure, and hopefully we'll be there in April is what we're hopeful for. So, and I'm pretty sure we probably will. End of April will probably work.
That's a very smart and selfishless thing to do, Bob. I'll tell you that right now, because it's not about it is about the safety, but you're thinking about longevity too, because as much as you would like to get doors open and going, like, you can't afford to lose any more money going.
We did really good with that in 2020, so we're going to try to make 2021. Yeah. I'd rather not do any shows and have 3 great shows in the fall that are rock star than have some mediocre, shadow what it should be. So it's just not a good move.
Well, I could tell you right now, 2020 was kind of a weird year, because it was my year to actually, link up with them at a lot of shows and go do a lot of stuff, which I was only able to link up with them in Arlington. Mm-hmm. But guys, Des, I'll tell you right now, I'm so pumped up to even attend shows, because I have them to go with now, because they're all about the shows. I lived through them with their stories anytime they're at shows. We talk about Steven's past going to shows, and then Desiree is just like, Desiree, you breathe and like you live these shows at like throughout your whole point of it, of you keeping snakes, right? With Forrest.
Yeah, I was 18.
18. And we're 85. We're not, we're not old, but we're not young. You know what I mean? That's when you say 18. That's a good early 2000s right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me some stuff about Bob, Desiree.
With reptile shows, interesting. I used to do the first reptile shows in the country, which were back in the late 80s in Michigan. So They used to be in Lansing, Michigan. There's the Great Lakes Herp Society, did some in Detroit, Michigan, before Don Hamper started doing his shows. So I was doing these shows at 14 years old. So, and there were copperheads and all kinds. There's no laws, so you could go out and do whatever you wanted to do back then. So it's changed a lot since then. So we've come a long way since going out and catching garter snakes and turtles and stuff and selling them at shows. And I used to trade back and forth with Europe. I had all kinds of European animals back when I was 15 or 16. Shows, people would mail them to me. Little yellow packages with a note. I want a couple blue racers. I mail it back to them, but it wasn't a big deal
back then.
So
yeah. So to talk about back then, Bob, because I think like any keeper nowadays really missed the original the beginning days, like the early 90s and like the 80s of keeping, because it was a lot more lenient, a lot more laid back. But nowadays, like what's really frowned upon is like venomous handling and stuff like that and whatnot. What's your take on that? What do you think that kind of effect?
Animals. We have 50 species of rattlesnakes here at the museum, so I breed a lot of the really rare species. But I don't think there should be shows for them. We don't allow venomous snakes to be sold at our shows because it's just, you know, you're dealing with stuff that's got to go to professional people that are facilities, licensed, things like that. We deal with zoos and things like that, but to sell them to the general public, just where a kid could just come up and, hey, I made $50, I sold a rattlesnake to some guy. And I've been to many of those shows that do that. It's very irresponsible. And it's bad for the industry in the long run because more and more laws will get enacted letting that stuff go out there. You should not have dangerous animals out in public.
Okay. Now, as far as, you know, back then when you had a crowd show up to one of your shows compared to, like, let's just say 2018, right?
Yeah.
What kind of adjustment has that been for you? Like, I mean, I know it's been gradual. Each year's been getting more, you know.
Yeah, the shows really in the last 3 or 4 years, the shows have really boomed. You know, all the shows. You know, and our shows especially. So our doors have been really high. Now, of course, going into last year, it didn't really exist. You know, we did Arlington last year. We did St. Louis last year, but it's a shadow of what it really should be. You know, luckily, I've got a lot of other business. We publish books. We do frozen food, you know, like Des does and stuff like that, too. So I do a lot of different things on the side. You know, I run academic meetings here at the museum. We have the museum. So that all keeps us busy. Here's a shameless self-plug. This just came in yesterday, the Caulfield letter. So we just did a book on Carl Caulfield. So it's not available yet, but it will be soon. I even did, we just got this in, too. So the complete knobtail gecko for the 5 or 6 people that breed these. We have a great book on them, so there you go.
So those are on your website, correct?
They're on our website, yeah. You can go on our website and see all that stuff. So, we got a lot of things going on. So even though 1 or 2 things might have been failing, other things have kind of picked up the slack. So we're doing fine.
I will, by the way, because I've gotten almost all your snake shirts off your website, and I get so many props every time I wear it. People love.
Did you see our new Eco Vintage? I've been buying all these old books. So I've got a collection of books. Some of them go back to the 1600s. But we're taking some of these old hand-colored plates out of these books. We're not actually removing them from the books. We're taking photographs, and we're making these shirts. Like this one I'm wearing actually is an old cobra plate from an old book from the 1600s, 1700s. So kind of an interesting, just something cool. And, you know, Tell is still doing art for us. He paralyzed himself, but he's doing more painting. So the shirts that he used to do for us, we're trying to find other avenues for doing shirts, and that since Tell's, you know, only able to do paintings and things, certain things like that right now. So
wow.
How far?
So much work, you know.
How far back do the shirts go? Like the design on the shirts and whatnot. Like do those go further?
We put the original artists and stuff on the stuff. I think the oldest ones are in the 1700s, something like that. So as far as the artwork goes.
Dang. Have you always been into like historical side of reptiles?
I'm actually working on a book right now on the history of snake bites and snake oils. So, and I've got the largest collection of snake bite kits, probably about 170 right now.
How many books do you currently own?
Oh, well, a lot. Probably 4,000 or so in my own library, but we've got our warehouse with us got a lot more than that. So, but yeah, we've got books that some pretty rare stuff. So, the plates of the books are worth. That's what brings the value. Some of these books are worth $30,000 for a book, but it's because they've got hand-colored plates, and they might have 30 plates in it that are worth $1,000 a piece. So that's why. So
I brag to people.
I'm about the only person left my age that's into these old antiquarian books. Most people 20 years older than me are like, hey, that's cool. Everyone my age is like, fuck that. You know, they don't want any of those things. So, but I've always just been into that history and all that stuff. I got boxes of price lists, and I mean, if you ever come to the museum, you'll see all the stuff.
I know. I need to. Forrest has been there like twice.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the museum, Bob. Tell us more about the museum, where it's located and all that.
Well, we're halfway between El Paso and Tucson. We're just off of I-10, about 29 miles south of I-10 on Highway 80. So we're just up the road from where Geronimo surrendered. So we have an Apache museum here with all kinds of Apache artifacts. And then we have the Desert Museum, which we have 600 acres here. And we have outdoor botanical gardens where you can see Gila monsters outside, lots of colobus, koalas, tortoises breeding outside, Bolson's tortoises, all that kind of stuff. And then we have indoor for live animals, and then a big art gallery, stuff like that. Huge gift store.
How long's that been up for?
11 years.
Oh, that's neat, man.
11 years.
That's awesome. Now, but what was the motivation behind this, Bob? Like, tell us a little bit, like, you know.
Well, I kept collecting all this stuff since I was a little kid, and it was building up in boxes. So either I had to do a museum or I had to get rid of it all. So
that's gonna be RepTech. I swear, RepTech's gonna have a museum at some point. You guys are gonna have so much shit from, like, you know what?
People pay to come see your shit. It's great.
Oh man. I really want to go check that out for sure.
Dude, we have to make a trip. Like,
Yeah, we're a 12-hour drive from the Arlington.
I told Sherry February. She made me promise. So
All right. Yeah, we'll be here a lot. Normally, this time of year, we're gone. We try to go to Australia or someplace warm and tropical this time of year. Not that it's not horrible. It's 70 degrees and sunny here today, so not that it's horrible. But I'm from Michigan, so I like it. Yeah, I like it better. So, but we're not going anywhere obviously this year. So we'll make up for it next winter.
Okay, so you're born and raised in Michigan.
Yeah.
Nice.
with Bartek.
You grew up with Bartek?
15 years old or so. I don't know. Yeah.
What? So he's older or younger than you?
He's younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you met him at 15? He was 15 when you met him?
Oh, I'm just guessing. I don't know. I may have met him. I was going to Mark Bell's back when I was 14, 15 years old and dealing with animals and stuff like that. And he was one of the friends of Mark's that would hang out there and stuff like that. And we do this a little bit. But yeah, he was younger than me, but he's younger than me by 2 or 3 years, something like that. Yeah. So he may have been he might have been 14, 15 now. I don't know. Yeah.
So Mark Bell, obviously.
That too, though,
Yeah.
For people like myself and anyone else out there who's kind of newer to the hobby, what's your relationship with Mark Bell?
We're very good. We've been friends since I was 14. So I've traveled Australia with those guys, Indonesia, Thailand, go to Europe many times. Amsterdam probably too many times, but it's good times,
This really is this really is probably the biggest ERP episode we've ever done.
Yeah, I told you, MJ. So Bob, is it true that Kim travels with Mark? Sorry, did they travel together?
Oh yeah, they travel most of the time. They're together. Sometimes if it's just a business show or something like that.
No. So Forrest would
like to do a ham show or something, but for the most part, yeah, she normally goes to all the shows and all the different.
I have to tell you something.
Okay.
No. Okay, never mind.
You tell me later.
No, you gotta say it. Don't listen to Steven talk.
The context is pretty.
So Forrest would always tell me we can't go on these kind of trips together because you can't leave the farm. So like one of us always has to be there. And he's like, Mark and Kim Bell never travel together. But Steven thinks that he was talking about
Bill and Marcia Brandt.
Yeah, the Brandts.
Well, I've traveled to China with Bill Brandt before, and Marcia didn't go, so that might be true with the Brandts.
Oh my gosh, it's probably true. Bill's crazy like that.
That's what we did. We wouldn't look to the road and stuff. There, Mark went with us too, and but for the most part, and Kim went on that trip too. So Kim mostly goes on all the trips, so that he just want to go places without you. That's all.
Yes. I stayed back all the time. Who went to all the shows? Who went to Indonesia? Who went to Africa twice or whatever the hell? Yeah. I didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, someone to stay home and do all the work, keep up with everything. So, makes
bagging
that stuff too, but it's hard as well. So
all day long.
Yeah. Those are probably three-fourths of the time. But if I'm just doing a business trip or traveling around, I may go by myself sometimes. But for the most part, she always travels with us too. We got to take care of everything. So we can come and go, and the museum runs without us. So we have a manager, we have a curator. So I don't take care of animals or anything anymore. So I just, we can come and go and just run eco.
You herp. He runs without us. Herp a lot.
Herp.
Try to. I wish I could herp more.
What was one of your favorite spots you would like to go visit in Indonesia?
Indonesia. We go to Bali a lot, which we do a lot of shopping and stuff there. And we haven't really done a lot of herping there. We go there, normally go shopping and filling containers with furniture and stuff like that. I like the north part of the island. Is great, because it's more, you don't have all the city and the people and all that. So we've gone out we found some different snakes and stuff up there, but nothing too exciting. When I want to go herping, I go to Australia or places like that. I love, because we've been there about 9 times. Australia is amazing. So you can go in places there. It's like going back in time 60 years. See all kinds of pythons and venomous snakes, and you can't
herp harder than Australia. Like that is the.
Well, you can go places where you'll see one car and you'll be driving at 100 miles an hour and drive by one car in a whole day. Up in the northern part. I mean, it's really remote, so you can see monitors and all kinds of stuff. One night we were driving from Charters Towers to Mount Isa, and we found the first black-headed python we found. My friend Zach was with me, and it was hit by a car, so it was kind of like half alive. And we used up about 1.5 rolls of film on this thing. Oh my God, this is like crazy. We found 6 more that night that were perfectly fine. So we found 7 that night, and of course with Stimpson's pythons and all kinds of other things. Burton's legless lizards and knobtail geckos and all that stuff. So it was just like, oh my God, we're like, every 2 miles we're pulling over with another like lifeless crazy animal, you know. And then there's wallabies and stuff all over the roads. It's a really cool time. Now you can also go out there if the weather's not right, don't hit it right. You can drive for 3 days and see no animals, you know. So that happens too. We just hit it that particular trip. We just found everything. We found everything.
Have you ever seen parentes in Australia?
Oh.
I have. I got there was one at the desert park outside. We were chasing it around, and it would let us get about 7 or 8 feet from it. I got lots of great pictures of it, but it was as soon as we got closer, it would run off about 10 feet and stop and look at us, and we get closer, it'd run off 10 feet. So you know, I never actually caught it, but I always like to catch it and let it go. But I was seeing a parente.
Wow.
That's so dope.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So when was the last time you've actually traveled? Like obviously before.
Well, I went to Australia with Mark and Kim in 2019 or 2000. It was 2018 to 2019. So we went to Kakadu and Darwin and drove all the way down to Perth. So we did New Year's Eve in Sydney Harbor, which was great. I mean, beautiful stuff. I'm trying to think if we did another trip. I've done little trips. Like I went to Belize with IHS the summer before last. Went down to Belize. I'm trying to think about this year. We didn't do a lot of traveling this year because we did a lot locally. So I think Belize might have been my last trip this last summer with IHS.
Have you been to Costa Rica?
Yeah, I've been there a few times.
How do you like Costa Rica? Like just as a tourist, like just to go visit?
I love the food, and I make some of it at my house. I would get the Lozano, the sauce that they use, basically Costa Rican ketchup. But I make like a dorado, which is mahi-mahi, the gallo pinto, which is the black bean and rice dish they make. I put my own spin on it. But yeah, I love. We caught a Loxodontis bicolor last time I was there. Right up, my friend's got a beach restaurant he owns in Portero. So we were just up I think with John Mack and his son, and we found a Loxodontis bicolor. It's like I think this is Loxodontis, so it's cool. Which is a New World python. So that was a cool new find for us there.
Yeah, that's neat. All right, Steven, I'm going to give you Steven's he has a lot of questions for you. Okay, so I want to turn this over to Steven a little bit, and I want Steven to kind of take over. So go ahead, Steven.
So I kind of want to almost do like a timeline kind of thing. So your early days in Michigan, at what point did you see this hobby and realize the business potential there, and then start to turn this into something really serious?
No, as a kid, I was always a wheeler dealer. I used to sell, I was in Boy Scouts and used to sell light bulbs and candy bars and stuff. I did it on the side to make money too. But yeah, I just always, I used to sell to a bunch of pet stores back in the 80s, like about 300 pet stores back at the time. And I kind of got more into publishing, which was a good thing. Because when I was originally importing and doing animals, it was like a 300% margin on a lot of these animals. And as more and more people got into it, it was more competitive. So rather than buying a baby iguana for $2 and selling it wholesale for $17.50, now I'm like, I got to sell it for $4 or $5. And of course, the customers always want, everything guaranteed and everything else. So as I saw that the profits of the live animal business going away, I got more into becoming a book dealer. Then I slowly became a publisher doing apparel. With Tell, I used to buy T-shirts from Tell and his business partner. They had a falling out, but then ended up buying all of Tell's inventory here, and then buying all his partners' inventory, and then having Tell end up working for us. So then Tell just started doing all of our T-shirt commissions and paintings, and we started repping him on all of his artwork. So it's just going to be evolved into that. Frozen mice I've been doing since then. So how I got into frozen mice, which most people don't even know, I distribute frozen mice. But I bought a Burmese python from a good friend of mine, Jim Yonkers, and I remember he said, "Hey, you buy this python, and I'll get you all the mice you want," because he used to get all of his stuff free from Charles River. So after a while, I ended up having that connection. I used to get a bunch of free stuff through Jim, and I used to get some of it directly afterwards. And I'd get literally pickup trucks full of the stuff for free. So I would supply people at the herp societies and a couple of pet stores to get mice from me and stuff like that. And at first, I didn't even have a good way to process them, so most of them would go bad and me trying to even freeze them. So I might be able to save 20% of these things. Mm-hmm. And I got better at that, and then I kind of evolved. And now I still do more mice than I ever have. But it's all drop ship, so it ships from one customer to the other. I import them from China. I ship them from one place to another. But it's all drop ship. So.
Well, and at this point, what percentage of your total business is the rodent side of things?
That's probably 50% of our business, everything.
Okay.
Yeah. And
And
that's publishing, that's trade shows and everything. So yeah.
And it's the part that nobody even knows about.
Yep, that's fine. And I have just a handful of customers I sell to, but I sell and I sell to zoos and a few things I've sold to since I was a kid. But it's fine. I don't advertise and all that, and I've got plenty of customers. So.
Oh yeah. And And when did that get really serious for you? Like, like what year do you think that was really like a big?
Probably 15, 16, 17 years ago, something like that. Because I used to do all the shows. I used to be a show whore, as we started, So I used to try around, and Don Hamper would be with us, and we'd go and hit about 50 shows a year when I was in Michigan. So we'd travel around, and I would deliver frozen mice to the shows. I would buy up all the animals that people couldn't sell. They're like, oh, they're hurting for money, and I always had money. So I'd buy up all the corn snakes and all the bearded dragons, the leopard geckos and all that stuff, and I'd ship them to like Mark Bell or Bill Brandt or whatever. But I could cherry pick all the best stuff and sell the shows for full retail. So I'd make good money on that. So I was kind of a wheeler and dealer. So I delivered mice to all the breeders. I bought all the stuff that the vendors couldn't sell, and then I also had all the shirts and the books and stuff and a few animals that we'd sell. So that's how I, was just doing that. I did that. I started doing that a long time ago when shows started, basically. You go to Millersport when that first started. And I literally bring all your animals there to the show in Ohio, and at the end of the show, pretty much every show, I could wholesale the last of it off to Mike Powell or whoever else was there. But we'd normally take all the boxes and throw them away, and we left. We'd have nothing in the car. We literally sold out at every show. Unless I bought stuff for a pet store or something, I'd buy stuff there to go out. Most of that stuff I'd ship out. So most of the time I left a show, I had nothing when I was just doing animals, which I love. That was my goal, to go home with nothing.
I'm just now realizing that you historically probably made the first reptile purchases or transactions ever to be made.
Well, there's people older than me, like Mark Bell. He started. He's got about 5 years on me. Gary Sipperly, which I just saw today. He lives here in town.
Can you ask him about doing our podcast?
Those are the true. I knew those guys. They were younger when I met them, so those are the iconic guys. The Gary Sipperleys and the Ruiz and Ernie Wagners and people like that. Frank Reedus, all friends of mine, but they all got me by 10 years plus. So I'm just a young whippersnapper to those guys. But compared to all the younger people that gotten into it in the meantime, I'm becoming the older guy now.
Right. But do you think they were doing it as young at his age as you were, though? Like,
some of them were. They're really into it. In fact, interesting. I was the book we did on Carl Caulfield. Of course, he's a step again. He died when I was 7. But he was going out as a kid and catching spotted turtles and all these things like we all did, and ended up becoming a zookeeper. And a famous one at that. And a lot of the people that met him, in fact, the author that met him just he was a fan, but met him out in Okatee and just ended up striking up a friendship and going out herping. And so they had that love of going out in the field and seeing these animals, and then becoming somebody and doing something like he did with the Staten Island Zoo.
So animals. Whoa. So I can hear someone's echo. Whose echo is that? Who was that?
I don't hear it. Is it hear me?
Bob.
I think we're good now. Are we?
Check. All right. Anyways, I don't even know what the hell I was going to say now. I'm confused. That really threw me off. Anyways, say something, Steven. I'm thrown off now.
You were talking about having, I don't know. Forget it.
Okay. Anyways.
Still echoing.
I am the second generation. There's the line of people that started everything before me. I just came in afterwards and built everything I've done off of what they've done. So I'm the second generation.
Yeah. So who is your biggest mentor?
Desiree's favorite.
I've got friends. They have Philippe Degain, which you don't even know who he is. I used to go out and he's a translator and stuff. And he set me up with all kinds of different animals and stuff I'd get out from overseas and that when I was around 14 or 15. And of course, Don Hamper, great guy, good friend for many years. Guys like that, and Mark's been, Mark's almost the same age as me, but he's kind of a mentor. I've seen he's done amazing things. And it's hard. And most people don't even
get him on our podcast.
Say it again. I'll probably not.
To do our podcast.
Public speaking and stuff like that. And he doesn't, most people at the shows now, the younger people don't even know who he is because he doesn't set up and do shows and stuff unless you're down in Florida or something. They'll do Wayne show typically, but he's pretty quiet, He's stays to himself. But he's got an amazing place, an amazing empire. Breeds everything. So he's
This podcast is known to even get the quiet people to come out and speak, just so you know.
Well, there you go.
Bob, just call him on the phone and be like, hey, you're on this podcast right now. Let's just ask him a couple of questions.
No, he would not be happy. No, he doesn't like doing interviews and all that kind of stuff. So.
Oh man.
Now Kim will get Kim on there. She'll do it. Call Kim and see if she'll do one with you. So she'll do a podcast with you for sure. Then maybe she'll get Mark to come on.
Okay.
Kim's the first step. Yes, that's right.
I think Kim is the goal too. I don't know if she's quite.
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
great.
that would
I mean,
be-
she's been with Mark when I first met him when I was 14, 15. So she's got the knowledge and all that stuff. So she would be a good person to have on your podcast by herself. She's done a ton. So she's, definitely important.
Now I'm just gonna say this.
Woman.
I'm just gonna say this name because it's another famous name that I've learned over the last course of the 3 years. But what's your relationship to the Barkers? Do you know Tracy Barker? And
Yeah, I know them. I was actually stopped. I was the first people at their house this year during the COVID. So I actually went out to Craig Trumbauer's place, and we went herping and met Russ Gurley out there this spring. And I bought his new Challenger. He bought a Challenger, he had about 4,000 miles on it. I drove it home from Tallahassee. On the way back, I stopped at the Barker's place just to look at their library because I've always wanted to see their library. So I spent the night there. We had a great dinner. I think we ate some axis deer or something out there, and great people. And didn't even look at reptiles. We just looked at old books, and it was a perfect stop. I stopped there, slept the night, and then drove out the next day. So first and only time I've been there, but they're very nice people, and they have an amazing library. Amazing.
that is relationship goals, guys. Can I drive by your place and stay the night, eat some deer, and then I'll just leave the next night? And after you give me a fucking scrub, Steven, I mean, can I do that? Like, is that you guys will welcome me like that, right? Damn, dude, that just sounds amazing. That just sounds an amazing time. It really does.
Yeah. And then when I left there, I met a couple friends from back east on Boy Scout Road. We were looking for gray bands and snake. We were in Herping one night there in western Texas. So
Wow.
didn't find much at all, but we did have a good hamburger there at the local place there in Fort Davis. So that's good.
That's all that matters.
Bob, I want to bring up a topic that obviously coming from somebody like yourself who obviously you have so much passion doing what you do, but with a lot of newcomers, a lot of people who are just now getting into herping or just keeping animals in general, what's like the biggest thing people need to realize, or what's one thing that we can control as keepers that could really help this industry or hobby go in the right direction?
Well, I see a lot of friends of mine that get into live herps because they want to get rich. And that's not really the way. I mean, a lot of the business that drives our shows are for people that want to go there, and there's some people that have done amazing with that, with ball pythons and so on. Ball pythons has been a huge driver with bringing in so much outside money, and a lot of people have made a lot of money with these animals. But the main thing for me is to really have the passion and really have it, because most people don't make money with it. They get into it, they spend a lot of money. But if you're enjoying what you're doing and you're working with species you love, don't overbuild it to where you've got an 8-hour-a-day job just taking care of the snakes when you get home from work, which people do. Make it to where it's fun. Make it to where it's worth doing. It's not, you're not slaving, and then after you pay for your show expenses and your hotels and your shipping and all the food and all the kind of stuff like that, you're like, I only lost $5,000 this year, and I worked 30 hours a week all year. So I mean, that's the reality for most people. So
for most people,
fun, so you don't burn out and go, oh God, I hate reptiles. 10 years later, you're like, man, that didn't work. So just take it. Enjoy it as a hobby. It seems like a lot of people say, oh, reptiles, I'm not, and everyone wants to have a business. Like every single person has a big banner and they're doing a business and they're a reptile breeder. Everyone wants to buy 3 pair or something and all that kind of stuff. It's not like, oh, I just want to buy a corn snake. No, I got to get like 3.5. Okay. So that's it, and that's fine. I mean, our shows are built on that. So I like that too. Don't get me wrong, but there's certainly a lot of great stuff out there in books, and there's lots of information. There's great animals that live a long time that people can just get a few little snakes. And like for a long time, I just had a couple of rattlesnakes, and I'm like, I had no other live animals. It's like, it's awesome. I've got 100 acres now. I got people to take care of them, but still, it's a lot of anytime something dies, you're like, oh man, that was really rare. That was really something I really cared about. When you have hundreds of animals, that's going to happen every week probably.
Now that you mentioned, animals dying and whatnot, what was like? I mean, there wasn't obviously any, or I can't say there wasn't any, but exotic vets back then, or like when you ran an issue with an animal, or was it just
a friend that was a zoo vet there at John Ball Zoo, and I would call him and he would give me some advice. And most of the stuff I just kind of did on my own, took care of stuff. It's pretty simple, but most of it's first aid or the snake dies, pretty much, Right. So typically, especially in our collection here, if there's anything that's that looks like it's potentially contagious or anything like that, just because we have a lot of really rare species here, we'll typically euthanize it just to be safe, something like that, unless it's incredibly rare. But, I mean, that's just the part of the deal. We had one of our rarest rattlesnakes here. We had a big gravid female Willardi immobilis, which is incredibly, one of the hardest snakes to get, full of babies. And then right before it gave birth, it rolled over and died, which happens a lot with that species. It just does. Sucks. But, you know, this way it goes. Like I'm either going to have a whole bunch of babies that are worth $2,000 a piece, or have nothing. Well, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes with live animals, you know.
Sounds like keeping chondros or basins or.
True. Oh yeah, absolutely. There's people that bought some of those $25,000 ball pythons and they never bred. You know, it's like, oh, it was a dud, didn't breed. Oh well. Oh, there's 25 grand. You got some, and then 10 years later, it's worth $150. Oh well. The way it goes.
Oh well. The damn ball python dream.
The way it goes. Yes. Yeah.
My whole foundation's built off ball pythons. I love it. So.
Yeah.
But
I love ball pythons. We published 3 books on ball pythons. We've sold out of all of them. So right, Kevin's working on a new ball python book right now. So yeah, they're very definitely they're a big driver in our industry, and that's why you guys are selling so many mice, and so are we, because there's I don't even know how many ball pythons are out there, but it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
it's an amazing number.
Yeah.
So we briefly touched on the topic, but obviously rattlesnakes are one of your larger focuses as far as the live animals go. What started your passion for rattlesnakes?
You know, when I was a kid, I had some Eastern Massasaugas. You know, back when no one, you know, cared what they were. They were worth like $5 back then. And I always thought that was just a cool little thing. And then when I went herping out west, went to the first IHS in '86 in San Antonio. We went out and caught Western Diamondbacks and a couple of Lepidus, little rock rattlesnakes and things. Really kind of got into it. And then a friend of mine, Zach, I met him out in Arizona when he was going to school out here. Again, this is probably '90, and caught willard eye and clawbri and stuff like that. Just really kind of, oh man, these are really beautiful snakes, and they're small, you know. Yeah. So it's like I don't have to have this big giant thing in. They like it cool, so they could have an air conditioned room. Perfect. So I just like the fact, and it can feed it once every 5 weeks or 6 weeks, and that was fine. You don't want to overfeed these montane things, so it's almost like having a house plant, you know. Except
it's an interesting way to put it. So obviously that blossomed into what you say now. You have 50 species of rattlesnake at your museum.
Give or take. We're actually trying to thin the herd right now. I'm trying to just stick to the montane stuff. So.
You can send those this way.
Yeah. I know. You want some of the babies, and I still have a ton. We produced like 35 Marulus this year, and some really rare stuff. But yeah, I just hate shipping stuff. That's the main thing. So we'll get you taken care of.
So Reptech's finally going to be adding venomous.
Don't you worry about it.
Jeez, I'm going to be worried about it. I know you guys had the best Abronia collection, but I'm a huge Abronia fan. So, and I'm glad you know with those Martinville Campbell that Forrest got from me. So that's good.
You're the reason we have all the Abronia, because the first time Forrest saw them at your place, that's when we started getting them.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What sparked your interest in those originally?
You know what? I was over at a friend's place in Germany, and he's a big reptile dealer over there, and in Freiburg. Peter Hawk, and in his office he had a little terrarium that he got an animal in from Guatemala or something like that wasn't supposed to be. It was just mislabeled. So he had it in his aquarium. In his that was really cool. Oh, that's really cool. And I'd seen pictures of them before, and then of course when you see a Graminia, which are probably the more common, the ones you see in the trade, they're bright green with the yellow eyes, and they're first out of the wild. I mean, they're just a beautiful animal. And again, they're small. They don't take a lot of care. They like it cool. It's kind of like a house plant, you know, a little bit more care, but you know. I don't want a full-time job. Mammals are a pain in the ass. Raising mice, I can't tell you about that. You know, so
fucking A.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Have you ever been to Mexico or Guatemala to herp Abronia?
I've never herped for Abronia. I've been to Mexico. I've done a lot of herping in the mountains of Mexico, and let me just turn this up. And I've never found Abronia, but I found lots of rare montane rattlesnakes. So that's what I'm going for. I've never been to the Cloud Forest and stuff down there. Okay. I'd love to, but never have.
What are some of the craziest rattlesnakes you've seen out herping, especially like Central America?
Well, we went down in Mexico to the Sierra San Luis, which is really not far from us, just in northern Mexico. We found 30 Willardi obscurus, which is federally protected here, but they're fairly common down there. So they were very common down there. But we went down with Mark Bell and Ken Foose down. We were about maybe a 5-hour drive south of Monterey, and we found like 6 Marulus, which are some of the most beautiful Marulus. These little salamanders that are, you know, at 13,000 foot elevation. A few other like horned toads, a few things like that. Neat stories back then. You know, the mules or the donkeys up there make it sounds like the devils outside your cabin. It's just like I can't even pretend to repeat how these things made this noise, but it was really creepy at night when you're hearing these things all around outside making this crazy noise. And it felt like it was about 20 degrees out, you know, middle of July. But when you're at that elevation, that's the way it is. cold.
Damn, 20 degrees in the middle of July, and
Yeah.
you're
When
double.
you're up at that high, yeah, no. I mean, you can see your breath. So yeah, it's cold.
Damn.
Wow. It's just like it's crazy from the hobbyist perspective to even consider that a reptile is in a climate like that.
Oh yeah, and the price side that live up here in the mountains here, 9,000 feet. I mean, it's 20 degrees difference in temperature, during the day, from there to here, and I can see it right from here. But just the temperature, and you go up there, even in the middle of winter, of course, it's full of snow. It's got 3-4 feet of snow up there. But so they basically they could live in Michigan if they had the right rock source and on the right food there, because they can take the cold temperatures. They just got to get down away from it. So.
Where were those donkeys at again? Like where
that was probably about 5 hours south of Monterrey, Mexico. So we flew into Monterrey, then we did all our driving herping down to the mountain ranges down south of there.
And were these like wild donkeys or?
Oh, we were at a farmer's ranch, so they were just his,
all right,
mules or whatever they were. You could have been mules, could have been donkeys. I'm not really sure, but they were creepy.
It has to be on YouTube somewhere. Like there has to be like.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure you could find it.
I'm just curious to see what this sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you Google it, you'll be able to find it. Everything's there. I made a comment. We were talking about how everything's on Google. I said, you can find a place to buy human cheese if you Google it, and we did. So, and for example, I went in there and you can buy human cheese, pick out the girl, the whole thing. So it's just a matter of what you want to do. Everything you can think of, someone else has thought of before.
It's crazy, and then it's nuts that you say that because it's so true. Someone's already thought of it.
That's right.
Oh, man. Yeah. Now, what is there anything that you could talk about for us to look future show wise? For us to look forward to in the future show wise that you guys have maybe in store or anything like that?
We're just working on trying to get the best variety of breeders. We're always looking at who's coming, who's not. We always save back a few booths where maybe we already have too many ball python people. We want a guy that breeds monitors there, things like that. So,
right.
So we're always looking to have new and great species there, rare stuff. So if someone calls me up and says, "Hey, I just hatched out a bunch of dwarf monitors or whatever," I'm like, we're sold out. Me or Brian will give one of our booths just to get them in the show, so we'd have a good product. You got Lanthanotus? Yeah, no problem. You got Captain Hornose? Put a booth in there. We'll give you one of mine, no problem. Because we need it. It's so important for the industry and the hobby to see that. Walk around and look at 30 tables of leopard geckos and 100 tables of ball pythons and 100 tables of crested geckos. It's boring,
So if anyone out there has something that rare, you can literally come up on Bob Ashley's table.
Absolutely.
Next show.
If you got something really rare, me or Brian will get you in. Absolutely. That no one else has, we want you there. Yes, absolutely.
So how long has the history of NARBC been at this point?
Well, this October would have been our 20th show, our 20th October show. So we were going to have some kind of a party or something. Well, obviously we haven't had the last two Tinley shows. May not have one until next October. So we'll do our big 20th year then. It'll be 21 years. Fiscally, it'll be 20 actually. It'll be our 20th show, but the 20 years will actually be in that because we started in 2001. So right after 9/11. So a month after 9/11. So that was a fun.
So in the entire history of all the shows, I mean, what is the development of the species variety been that you've seen?
It ebbs and flows. For a while there, all the colubrid people had disappeared, and they were all getting into ball pythons because that was what money is. And now, of course, we've just looked in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years where this huge craze with the colubrids. And, I was breeding a lot of these Mexican species, pine snakes, bull snakes, things like that, and king snakes when they were worth nothing. I mean, I'd hold some of them mark for $12 a piece, because let's say we only have them. What are we going to do with them? I mean, Nigritas were like $18. So it's nicer going for $200 now. It's nicer go. Some of the stuff's going for $250. Some of these pine snakes used to sell for $30. But it's it's an ebb and flow. It's like it's a supply and demand thing. And when everyone jumps into it, like everyone's jumping on the black king snakes, for example, they're paying $200, $250, $300 a piece for them. Well, no one's they're holding on to. They're going to breed them. So next year you're going to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds at the show, and they're going to crash, and they're going to go back down to where they were, $20, $30, $40. But I've seen that happen many times over the last 30 years. So, it's not like, I wonder what's going to happen. It's going to happen. When albino berms went down to $40, I remember they were, a lot more than that, so just like anything. They're high again now because no one's breeding them. So everything's supply and demand.
That's a culture shock. Because it's so true the way you say it, the way you explain that. and then you've seen generations of this, so it's almost like clockwork, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Just gotta ride it's just like a surfer. You gotta ride the waves, and you don't know them for sure. You're just watching it, and you're just ride the wave in. It's like, all right, there's a big one now. I'm gonna jump on this one and make the best of it. There might not be another good one for an hour. You don't know.
You always enjoy the wave while you can.
Exactly, but be ready. Don't be overcommitted on that wave. So yeah.
And then what about like the species that have never really been in super high supply, like rare pythons, chondros, monitors, stuff.
Like a thing like a Bolin's python. Now, I used to import Bolin's pythons from Indonesia, but we bring in captive-born babies that were, they would collect the eggs, or they collect rabid females typically, and they would get the eggs, they'd hatch them, and then I used to deal with Duncan McCrae over there. I'd go over there and we'd pick up lots of chondros and Bolin's pythons. They were about $1,200 at the time, and we'd bring them in. The thing is, here they have been bred here in the States, but very few. And normally, one person breeds them by mistake, and they can't reproduce it. So it's happened 3 or 4 times in the States, but very rarely. So because of that, the prices are way up. So as soon as they stop coming in from Indonesia, unless someone can crack that net, there's other snakes like Chiricahua, the rough-scaled python from Australia. I remember those were like the holy grail, but they breed like corn snakes. So they were super high, and now how many do you want? They get really cheap soon. Crested geckos used to be thought to be extinct in the wild. Yeah, they breed pretty easily. They're not extinct anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God!
They're a skewed petco. So And if you is the same thing. I mean, if they let people breed, if they let someone that breeds animals for a living, someone like Mark Bell or Bill Brandt or John Mack, something like one of those guys, say here's 4 pair of P. John iguanas. So you can legally sell them. There's legal ones. Well, no one ever smuggled them again because people will buy them at Petco for $80 or $100. They're prolific. I mean, that's the whole thing. There's a lot of that stuff like that. So
Do you think there's no coming back for the retics?
Oh, there's never no coming back for anything. It's everything's secular, so it goes up and down. So it'll bottom. A lot of people get out of them and all that, and all of a sudden it'll be like, hey man, I haven't seen. There's a lot of morphs and stuff that are around and colubrids and stuff that are gone now. They were down to where you couldn't sell it for $20, and they're just gone anywhere. So different albino traits and things that are just almost impossible to get now, or impossible to get, that were like common as shit 20 years ago, but they weren't. No one was buying them, so everyone got out of it, and the trait's gone. So the same thing like with retics. Now with all the laws going on right now, that's not going to help because state after state are banning large constrictors. They're banning venomous animals. I mean, they're banning more dog and cat stuff than reptiles by a long shot right now because of puppy mills and all that kind of stuff. So I'm on the reptile committee with PJAC, and we were looking at all the legislation, all the laws are constantly coming down. It's just like it's a constant barrage of animal rights groups trying to come after us and trying to ban everything that we do. So that will hurt retics, because of that. But again, there'll always be an ebb and flow depending on rarity. They have big litters, so when you're producing them well, you can make a very expensive snake very inexpensive very soon.
Mm.
So go ahead, Stephen.
On that topic of PJAC, USARC, the fight against animal rights, for anyone listening to this right now, or anybody in the reptile community, what should they do to help kind of come together in that fight?
Well, they should watch the alerts that you get from Phil Goss on the USARC. Watch the alerts that go out. If you're a member of PJAC, you should join PJAC as well. So you get those pet alerts and anything that's happening in your state, because most of these things have to be dealt with by people that live in that state or that county or that city. Because if I say, if I show up, hey, I'm from New Mexico, and I really don't want you to ban this animal here in Kansas, they're going to be like, we don't care. You're not a constituent. They're not going to listen to me. So it's important to rally the troops if you have a local herp society, but rally all the herp people, the community in there, and the people that have reptiles. Say, hey, and go there and write letters. Because every time they get a letter, that counts for more than one person, because they know that, hey, if there's one person writing a letter, there's probably 100 of you out there that didn't. So if 100 people write a letter, that's a huge number. So those people are only going to go for what's going to get them elected the next year, realistically. So if they've got a whole bunch of people against something, they're not going to do it. If everyone wants them to do it, they're going to go for it. So you got to be really proactive with your local, whether it be your city council or your local state senate or anything like that. So. And if it's bigger than that, then go to USARC, go to PJAC, and say, hey, and try to help get them organized, and they'll bring more people in. Mm-hmm. Very important.
And I definitely want to definitely do what we can and use our platform and stuff like that to get words out and stuff. So if there's anything you think that that comes your way that you feel like it's important for us to get out, make sure you let Des know or myself know, and we will definitely make sure we keep that word out and stuff like that. Because that was the question I was going to ask was the one Steven said, but Steven said a lot better than how I was going to ask it. So thanks, Steven. But yeah, so Bob, I have to ask now. I'm always curious for people who've been in this for so long and the different waves like we're talking about. Do you feel like these waves are only getting bigger and bigger as we go along? Like, do you feel like regardless of what's happening with COVID, is this hobby just getting as gigantic?
Way bigger than it's ever been. So it's continuing to grow. And because of that, when it used to be where you overproduce something like that, it would drop in price pretty quickly. But the demand's huge, so you can overproduce it for several years, and everyone's buying it up to produce more of it. So I mean, it's a huge hobby. It's the big box stores. Back when I sold to pet stores, there were no big box stores really. There's Past Pets. We started selling to them. They had a chain of about 40 stores, and that was like big box back then. And we would go to all these pet stores, and I would bring in boxes of animals. And I would educate them about animals, and most of these pet stores didn't even sell reptiles. So we got them into, hey, try a corn snake or try a red leg tarantula or something like the stuff that we're bringing in, and got them into selling reptiles. Most pet stores didn't sell reptiles back in the 80s. Early 90s, they're like, reptiles? Yeah, they don't need those. So they might start with emperor scorpions, they might start with a corn snake, and they'd evolve into a monkey tail skink or something like that. So it's slowly, and as they see that, it's not just the money they make on the reptiles, it's all the aquarium, the food that they come in there every week to buy their mice and their crickets and all that kind of stuff, the light bulbs and all these things. So it's a big driver, very important for especially the big box stores. Now all the big box stores sell reptiles, they don't only sell dry goods. So and they drive the market when it comes to those bread and butter animals when they're buying thousands a week sometimes.
Do you have anything else, Steven? I was going to ask something else, but go ahead.
No, go for it, man. You got a question.
Now, with the laws and whatnot, like people who are, because I'll tell you what, another thing that's getting real popular is people out there starting Instagrams and being herpers, right? They like to run out and get bit by animals and stuff like that. I mean, do you influence stuff like that, or what do you recommend? Okay.
No, we do a lot of stuff with National Geographic out here, Earth Touch, a bunch of different film companies that come out here, and because we have all the permits and the licensing to do all the stuff with the native and endangered species out here, we kind of work behind the scenes, and we just basically the wrangling and the support for the film crews. We have lodging here for me that too, so we do some of that, but it's with the bigger film crews and stuff that come out here. So we do maybe 2 or 3 films a year, but they're just little half-hour shorts or hour shorts for these other like foreign film companies. And it's all natural history. We don't do the stuff that crazy guy in khakis running around with a snake in the ear like that. Not that anything against Steve Irwin, because he did a lot for the industry as far as getting an awareness and appreciation for reptiles. So he's done a lot of good things. So I'm not going to bash him because he was a good, important person. But there's a lot of people that want to kind of replicate and be him and be the retard out there eating snakes in the wild and doing all that kind of stuff. So sorry for that politically incorrect statement.
No, but you're so right, because there's literally people I can't, like, there's like, sometimes on Instagram, there's things that pop on your feed, and even if you don't follow that, they still recommend it to you. And I can't tell you how many times last year I saw somebody I've never even heard before running into the Florida Glades, the Everglades, and just running things with snakes in their hands and getting bit. And like, next they got like 10,000 followers, and you're like, whoa, what the, like, are people really buying into
this crazy bastard do some stupid stuff? It's like Jackass, it's like you can't not watch it sometimes, but we don't promote that. It's not good for anybody. And you're, once you get bit by a venomous snake and you find out how much it costs, it's like, okay, that was $250,000. Maybe I shouldn't do that. So
would you say getting bit by any animal shouldn't be on social media? Like not even TikTok?
Well, why that you're just you're trying to like show how an animal can be bad, which of course it can be. But why do you want to promote an animal being a negative aspect of an animal? It's like, yeah, here's a dog show. We're going to show all these dogs that shit and piss all over our carpet all the time. That's all we show. Well, after you watch that, you're not going to want to buy a dog or a cat. It's like, fuck that. I got shag carpeting. I'm not doing that.
So, I got white couches.
So, same thing. So if you're showing, oh, look at the snake's biting me, it's chewing me, there's blood. Oh, how cool am I? Fucking moron. You're an idiot.
Facts. Dang. Bob is gangster.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So. But hey, there's people making millions of dollars doing that. So you know what? So whatever, But it doesn't help someone buy a snake. Someone doesn't go buy a snake after they see someone chew up all down their arm. I don't watch anything. I haven't watched a program on the internet or on TV, a reptile show thing. Probably the last thing I watched was like Steve Irwin 12 or 13 years ago. You know,
You watched my podcast.
no, I've never seen. I don't watch podcasts, so
He's on it. It doesn't matter.
I have now. So I've seen this. I've never watched Bar Checks. I've never watched anybody's podcasts. So I did one with Brian one time, and I didn't watch the one I did with Brian. So I don't.
He's not even going to watch this one. Fuck it.
Well, we're doing a lot of things, so I'm really busy. So normally I go home at night.
I love it.
Open up a bottle or two of wine, have dinner.
Bottle or two. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not there watching animal shows and stuff like that. It's like, I'll be watching like, Goodfellas or something like that,
Yes.
Goodfellas.
That's what I'm talking about.
HBO, Boardwalk Empire, stuff like that.
Listen,
than watching somebody jumping around in a pair of khakis, with a snake in their hand. Like, whatever. Yeah.
I could say right now, if it wasn't for the animals or snakes, I probably would not have social media. I'm telling you, I probably wouldn't. No, I wouldn't want social media. What's the point? Yeah. I only have it because it connects me with people that I need to be connected with.
Social media, and I don't do Facebook. My wife does. We have it for all of our business, and I've got people that run all that stuff, and iChess and so on. But I don't have time to deal with it. It's insane. But it's a hell of a tool when you're talking about running a reptile show or running a business. It's a very important tool, but it's also insanity too. You can let it. So if I had like a personal page, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm like checking all the time because I've got all these different people and friends looking at this. And I got to show them what I had for dinner and whatever. It's just like too hard. It's just like fuck. I don't have time for that. So.
When did shows really start blowing up for you?
Well, we did our first show was in 2001 that we actually did ourselves, and we lost 20 grand at the first Tinley show. Of course, it was the day before the show. Mayor Daley went on TV and told everyone to stay home that weekend because there was threats to take out the Sears Tower. So it wasn't helpful. But also, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We had a good show, and vendors did pretty good there, actually. But we spent way too much in advertising. We're just going to learn, A lot of people talk about, we get 20,000 people at the door. Well, that's not real. I mean, I went to an Aerosmith concert, 8,000 people there, and that's about... No, reptile shows don't get 8,000 people. That just doesn't happen. So
that's crazy.
So you hear all these numbers from people, and that's bullshit. So a lot of it was we were budgeting ourselves and thinking, well, we're going to do all this. We're going to budget because we had 20,000 wristbands. We had a stamper in case we went over 20,000. Well, we learned a lot that year. So the next year we made back our 20 grand. So you learn as you go, type of thing. But they've been building ever since though. They're still of course in Wayne's show the expo was huge. It was a monster back in its day, and it was the only thing worldwide to go to. And then the Ham Show came on, the Snake Day, and some other things. Then there were shows like Pottstown and Mars and other regional shows that came in. It kind of the Urban Show out in San Diego was a good show. So these big things come, and most of those shows are all gone now. Daytona's still there, but those other shows are gone. They've been gone. So everything kind of builds. The Ham Show's still going on, but they didn't have a show at all last year because of COVID. And they may not have one this year. They haven't even started vaccinating people in Germany yet.
Chris, didn't you go to the San Diego show, the Herpes show in San Diego?
The one they have, Rami has his show there, the Reptile Super Show. But in California, he didn't have one the last year, and he probably won't have one until fall. He might not have one in the fall because they're pretty strict. They're just like Illinois. So, he might get lucky and have one like in August, possibly, depending on the COVID thing and the vaccines and all that kind of stuff. That's probably the next show that'll happen in California, probably. So
I hope, dude, San Diego could finally be on the map reptile show wise. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he's got a decent show out there. The one in Pomona,
Yeah, Pomona's a great one. That one's a treat all the time. San Diego, it's a lot of window shoppers. You don't really see
I've heard that. I've never been to those shows. So
I live in San Diego, so I've been to those.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's good, Kush. Maybe we could, if that's the case, California show. I'm dying for these two to come to California.
Well, we did Anaheim for about 11 years. We did Anaheim, and we stopped doing it because
NRBC Anaheim.
NRBC was in Anaheim. We did it for about 11 years, I think, at the convention center. And we said all the people's coming to do the fairground shows and all these types of things. You go taking off? Okay, I'll be. So I'm trying to actually, I lost my train of thought. So, but all these other people started coming doing shows, so watering it down where we couldn't really compete with the expenses of doing a show at the Anaheim Convention Center. It's about $100,000 to do a show there. So when I'm trying to compete with someone that's doing a show in the fairgrounds or at a VFW hall, and they're charging $75 for tables, and we're $300. Well, it's a hard it's a hard nut to crack to do that. So we did that. We tried for a while, and it was a great show for a long time. We had Leonardo DiCaprio come to the show, lots of different celebrities being there, but it just wasn't profitable at the end, and so we stopped doing it. So no point working hard to not make money.
Did Leo buy any animals? Did he?
He bought a big tortoise, and me and my partner, actually, Brian, helped load it in his Lexus. So Brian actually told him, don't put it on the back seat because it's going to piss all over the back of your car. So we put it in his trunk.
What did he pay for the tortoise, if you don't mind?
I have no idea. He bought it from, I think he bought it from, Jay Brewer at Prehistoric Pets, I think, or one of his staff members, I think. So
he paid it.
One of the most famous ones we had on our shows there, but we had other like TV stars and stuff like that popped through.
He paid at least $20,000 for sure, 100%.
Or $200. You know.
Hey, what's we're gonna do a wrap up question. So let's get a wrap up question for Bob here. Steven, do you have a wrap up question for Bob?
You've mentioned it throughout. What's your connection with IHS?
I was a president for 4 years, and I've been the vice president now for about 15 or so years. So we help. It's great. We're having it. Actually, the IHS could be out here this summer. They moved it from Atlanta to here just because we're more socially distant here, and it won't cost them as much money. So we'll have it out here. It's going to be the middle of July. It'll actually be July 21st to the 24th. So anyone wants to come to IHS, it'll be out here at the Desert Museum. And then the following 3 days after that, starting on Wednesday, we'll have the Biology of the Heloderma Conference, which was supposed to be last year, and we're doing it this year. So it'll be a 3-day lag. It'll be tagged to IHS, and then we'll have the Heloderma Conference. We'll have some great people like Jonathan Campbell and people like him here doing talks. We'll have some great stuff. And it'll be available. Both these meetings will be available on Zoom. And so we have the capabilities of doing that. So if you don't want to come out here, you can register and do it all online.
Oh, that's neat. So people get to see the experience and be there for it.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're doing some field trips and stuff too, so you won't be able to go out there and see a Gila monster in the wild or anything else, but you can watch the talks and enjoy. Can't have any of my margaritas, but that's the way it goes.
Des?
Where's been your favorite place to herp, and what was the coolest animal you found there?
Probably Australia, because we found tiger snakes. The tiger snakes out in Western Australia, the purest, the red and orange banded ones. Those are some just gorgeous animals. Some of the big monitors that we found, and a big panoptes or a big lace monitor. You see just a big thing, stuff like that.
So where specifically in Australia?
Well, we've been most places there. In fact, we've been about everywhere. I like Western Australia because I'm a desert rat. That's why I live out here. So you see a lot more stuff out there, and you see everything from like knobtail geckos to olive pythons. But you can go up in the northern part and towards the Cape, and we go diving for turtles with John Cann. We've been lucky to do that, and you see all kinds of more tropical things up there. Boyd's dragon is one of the animals I have not seen in the wild, which I want to go and see. They're really cool. It's a giant coyote on steroids. Beautiful animal. Goes up the trees.
Awesome.
And it's not a coyote, but it looks like it. So. But there's just some beautiful, beautiful animals up there. To see a green tree monitor in the wild, have not seen. To see a green tree python in the wild, I've not seen. So there's lots of things. So this last year we did a couple herp trips. I got like 3 or 4 things off my life list. So I try to go and think, all right, we're going to go to a couple places. And Komodo Island was great. We saw like 13 Komodo dragons on Komodo Island when we went there. That was cool.
I would love that.
Chase you like they show you with Steve Irwin on the films they're chasing around. Literally, they don't look at you. I might as well be a tree stump. I had about a 9-footer walking right through the grass at me, and I just stepped out of the way and I walked right by me and never even looked at me. So it's not like these people get them all riled up and stuff. It's all horse shit.
Yeah. Jeez. I love birds, man. So I have to ask you, the piece of art right there in the back, the cassowary, right?
Tell Hicks, and he did a big, huge. So when we saw cassowary in the wild. And we were in Australia in Cranda. A big male walked right up. I was with Don Hamper, Robbie Hamper, and Sherry, and the thing was literally standing a couple of feet from us. I shot 2 rolls of film from it, and this is some stuff he did back in '71. In fact, let me move my camera up. You can see maybe some of these other ones. See there?
Oh, that is so neat.
We did those back in the '70s of all the different cassowaries, and then I've got a big 6-foot painting in our living room up at the house of the cassowary that actually walked right up to us, and it's like seeing a velociraptor. It literally walked right up to us in the rainforest.
That's such a dream.
Like that. So that was probably the coolest, craziest thing. having something like that walk right up to you, you're like, look at that, holy shit,
That's a really dreamy, and that's a bird I just discovered that bird like 2 years ago.
Is known for birds, so we have more birders come out where we are than anyone else for reptile people. So we had a eared quetzal out here, which people came in from all over, elegant trogons, 14 kinds of hummingbirds that are found right here where we are. So we have birders from all over the world that come here. So
wow.
MJ.
Oh my God, that just sounds really dreamy. Well, Bob, I got to say this hour has been really legit. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. I do have to say though, this has been a real inspiring podcast. But for anybody, like I said, new, because I'm one of those people who are new. But what's something you could really recommend to somebody who's really passionate about animals, but really wants to maybe look at doing this for a living someday?
Well, if you want to do it for a living, if you're really into it and doing it for a living, sometimes you can kind of hurt your hobby if you do it as your work. So make sure every part of it you do is something you enjoy doing and you love. So that way, even if you're not making money, you're having a good time and you're working with a species you love. And that's the main thing. And that way, it's like if you're producing it, and also read, talk to people doing it right, do your research and make sure you're not learning mistakes, because if you're learning it from doing it wrong, it's going to cost you a lot more money and more time. So listen to people. There's so many great books out there. And not just books that we've published, but many other books. There's some good information on the internet as well. So talk to people. Go to some of the talks at some of the shows. Some of these breeders are out there giving you all their free information. Here's the map to the gold mine right here.
Yeah.
Listen, look at their map and follow it, and that's how you're going to do well. Replicate what other people are doing, and then you can see what works, and you can even make it better. As we all do it more and more, we're going to find ways to improve what people do. So you're like, oh, we'll do this, and we get a better hatch rate or whatever it might be.
Wow. All I got to say is round 2 with Bob and Kim. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll give Kim a call. She'll probably do a podcast. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Bob. This was amazing.
Very nice. Happy New Year, and hopefully soon we'll be doing a reptile show. See you guys at the reptile shows.
Okay, we'll see you in February.
See you later, Bob.
February, unfortunately. I'd like to. All right. You can come out here in February if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right. You guys have a great time.
Bye.
Bob.
Bye.
Bob Ashley, ladies and gentlemen. Dude, Steven, I really feel like I know what you're like. I have an idea what you're going to be like when you're old, like when you're a little bit older. Like I'm dead ass serious.
I hope.
Because the dude, like he's different. Like, bro, he's not like anyone his own age, right? Like he's just like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this. You guys weren't kidding. This was a historical podcast because how much knowledge and how much history this guy has with the hobby today. Like, it's not like shout out to Bill Brandt. Bill Brandt was a part, but he's no longer really affiliated with anything. He's back chilling, right? But then you have Bob Ashley, who's literally like, you could tell this guy, he does not stop. He's like non, like a bar check. He's just nonstop. I can just tell. The way he answers questions, like he'll answer before he even finished with the question because he's just so like, it's kind of like Forrest. Forrest was like that. Forrest would start talking.
His biggest mentor, 18. I mean, he was our first rodent customer. First guy to sell rodents through, Bob Ashley.
Amazing.
And he used to pay net 30. So we'd get a check once every 30 days. We'd have to survive. Yeah, net 30. That's Bob.
Damn.
Yeah, I got him to pay me weekly though.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
every Friday.
Okay.
10 invoices from Bob.
That's like, hey, this net 30 ain't flying with me, man. I can't pay shit with this net 30.
Yeah.
Split it up, man. Well, good stuff. Great episode. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. If this was your first time tuning in, please subscribe, hit the like button, dislike, leave a comment, and yeah, man, join our Patreon page. We're almost to that 10, so let's get some more people a part of that, and then we'll get the lives cracking, man. I can't wait. And yeah, man, this year we're not messing around. We got a lot of great stuff lined up, huh, Steven?
Oh yeah. If we haven't already had some killer guests on this show, and if tonight wasn't anything, we still have some awesome stuff to come. So everyone, stay tuned.
Something was. I mean, you can't. If you thought this wasn't anything, then I don't even know. You must not even keep animals. I'm confused.
I mean, we could possibly get Kim of Reptile Industries. I mean, how does it top that?
That's women power. That's girl power right there. That's you and that. You got to. That's you. That's what you got to do right there, Des. You know what I mean? That's it. Des will get it. I'm not worried about it. But yeah, do you guys have any rep tech news or anything you guys want to tell the people real quick before we dip out? Anything that you guys could think of, Steve?
I mean, I think our breeding season's coming along here. We may be approaching an emerald ovulation shortly, which would be pretty freaking sweet.
You never found those eggs, huh, from the year before?
No, man. Last year's emerald eggs, they just flew into thin air. It was real disappointing.
Damn it!
I don't want to speak too soon. Might be getting something from our Mertens water monitors and lace monitors.
From the late, dude. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Yes. The Mertens, that's crazy. That's fucking intense because look, they were going at it since you put the female in there, right? So
yeah, it's a very habituated pair. They love each other. So
you know what? Okay, the only thing, not the only thing, but one thing that really made me like, oh, I was so happy was because I was kind of concerned that the male wanted nothing to do with that enclosure that you guys built. And that enclosure was so sick. Like, I love that enclosure. But as soon as you put the female in, all over it. I love it.
His comfort level immediately changed once that female entered the enclosure. And she was much more bold from the start, too. And she still is now.
Okay. I have an enclosure question for you, Steven.
Okay.
Outdoor enclosure, right? What's the best thing to keep the enclosure, like for instance, okay, like, you know, if it's outdoor, that's fine, but what's like the one thing you recommend doing to ensure that it's going to last as long as it can last? Like either if it's like the right kind of wood or certain kind of support frames or anything like that. Do you understand?
Well, I mean, treated wood is the first.
Okay.
Because I mean, if you're building an outdoor structure out of non-treated wood, you just, you know, be ready to fully replace it in less than a year. But treated wood should last, I mean, much longer, you know, probably 5 years plus before you're looking at replacing any boards at all.
Treat the wood.
And then going down into the ground at all, you know, that would be the other.
Wait, say that again?
Building down into the ground.
So not putting like a platform, like you're saying, just go directly to the ground?
If you have the means to, I would dig the ground out a little bit. Wow. Because that's going to create more stability, and also you can create a deeper substrate level without having to make a step up.
So you're saying, for instance, using a bin as a like an egg box, like a lot of people do, where they put dirt, they pile dirt over it, right? You're saying that making something underground or actually into the dirt is more.
I'm just saying, like, here's your ground. Instead of building from here up, dig it and then start the foundation
lower.
2 foot down or whatever. It's not doable in every situation, but if you want a deep substrate layer, like for instance, if it's an outdoor monitor enclosure, you know, if they need 2 feet of dirt, it sometimes is a little bit inconvenient to have to, you know, make stairs for a 2 foot step up into an enclosure.
That makes sense.
So,
okay. I'm not building an outdoor enclosure or anything. I'm just, you know, yes, I am.
It's not a breeding centric enclosure though. It's not quite as necessary. You can
breeding centric. Is that what you just said?
Centric, like if your enclosure is not breeding specific, you know, you can mess around with different levels within the enclosure to where you can have it on the ground, walk in at ground level, and then have different levels within where there might be deeper substrate.
Okay, but otherwise, if you're doing it to breed monitors, you recommend giving yourself a little bit of going down a little bit on your foundation, right? Yeah,
I mean, you know, the best way to do it, if you know your animals, I mean, when, you know, anybody who listened to our podcast with Brandon, you know, he just has, every one of his monitors has their lay box, and that's where they go, and he has a system down. But if you don't like for us, you know, we're newer to breeding monitors, we definitely don't have our system down. Monitors can lay their eggs wherever, and if they don't have an adequate spot, they won't lay them. They'll become egg bound and they'll die. So if the entire enclosure is in theory suitable for nesting, you limit the chance of losing that female. But it also is more difficult to then find your eggs because they can lay them literally anywhere. And, you know, I don't want to have to dig through our 6 by 7 foot area of, you know.
And we have.
And you know, dig through the whole thing. And maybe they weren't even in there in the first place. And you just wasted an hour. And you feel like a real idiot. And you're covered in dirt. So, bad combo.
Wait, I have a question. I mean, I mean, Corey has cameras in all his enclosures. You guys don't put cameras in your enclosures just to see where they could possibly lay them at?
You know, we got this factor around here called time. Not always on our side. Like, for instance, this week, couldn't really get into this room to do anything until about 2 hours ago because we had to ship a lot of stuff out.
Steven was still cleaning snakes before the podcast, and I'm like, bro, we got like 6 minutes. He's like, I got 3 more snakes to clean. Hold on.
So, but to answer your question, I would love to get some cameras in our enclosures, and I think it would be very beneficial. So it's on the list.
It's on the list.
Yep.
It's more like on your elbow at this point.
It's like a full like back tattoo and all that in my arm. Okay, got that one.
Arlington's canceled. Unfortunately, you guys are still trying to roll. Hit up Bills, maybe, right?
Yeah, he said we could stay there, all of us.
Let's throw a party at Bills. Whoever wants to roll up, whoever wants to go to Arlington and can't because the show got canceled. Obviously the show's canceled. But roll up to Bills. Bill's really friendly. His wife Kim's amazing. Roll to Bills. All right. Hey, listen, great time. Thank you so much for setting this up, guys. I appreciate it. This was an amazing episode. Bob Ashley, good shit. Next week's going to be hard. And yeah, man, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe. Don't be a hater.
And as we were talking about earlier, and what we should probably throw in at the end of all of our podcasts, if you don't already, go support USARC.
Yeah, we can start doing that.
Links in the description below. Link in the description below. Link in the description below.
Fight to keep our rights as private animal keepers is that, you know, there's a threat towards it every single day. And, you know, the more that everybody collectively buries their head in the sand, the quicker, it's going to come. And, you know, I think anybody who's doing anything for the fight could probably do more, except for maybe Phil Goss, at which point we kind of owe our lives to Phil Goss. But, you know, $5 a month does a world of a difference if everybody does it. So USR.
Pull your head out of the sand.
And fucking pull your head out the sand and subscribe.
Don't be hating.